Welcome to episode 362, 10 Loeb, 10 Trading Lessons. This is an outline of episode 362, lesson 1 to lesson 5. This is an outline of episode 362, lesson 6 to lesson 10. Lesson number 1, start young, start rich.
I was interested in investing from a very young age. Almost bizarrely, I was interested like at 5 or 6 in, just fascinated by things.
This is picture of Ruth Handler, creator of Barbie doll and Mattel.
I mean, I had a great aunt who was the founder of Mattel Toys. Her name was Ruth Handler, and her husband Elliot started the company. So I had this entrepreneurial history in my family, coupled with sort of the immigrant struggle. But I also associated success in business with Hot Wheels and Barbie dolls. And I think it was a very powerful enforcer early on to...
Lesson number 2, if you make big mistakes, make them early. In his senior year at Columbia University in 1983, he lost $120,000 betting on a stock of Puritan Bennett, manufacturer of medical ventilators. Lesson number 3, chaos equals opportunity. The only thing I know is that from chaos comes opportunity. Lesson number 4, his apprenticeship is distressed financing. He learned this from Jefferies Group in 1991 at the age of 30.
My real trajectory took off when I started on the sell side at a firm called Jefferies in 1991 at the beginnings of the distressed debt market for that phase. There was a distressed market in the 70s when Mike Milken exploited it and did a great job. But then this was the post-Drexel. You guys are too young to remember, but if you read your history books, Drexel Burnham went bankrupt on Valentine's Day in 1991. And I started at Jefferies in September of 1991. Started out as a research analyst, traded trade claims, bank loans, covered accounts, worked as helped position bonds, and at the end of that period, thought I could do this as well as others, but needed a little bit more money to get started, and took a job at Citigroup.
Lesson number 5, bottom up. He's a value investor, meaning he's not a macro investor, meaning he's not a momentum investor.
Every day. So things like teamwork, transparency, honesty, creativity. And then in terms of how do we invest, just to take it down a level, we have a value-based philosophy, not values, value orientation. So we're not momentum guys. We're also not macro guys. We invest in things where there's a fundamental analytical framework that we can understand, pretty much explain using 3rd or 4th grade math, and with a set of dynamics that we also understand, probably a higher level of legal analysis and accounting analysis, and then regulatory analysis as well. So I'll come back to that in a minute. There was a time, last year, I'll get to the part where last year was a really tough year. We forgot some of those investment, not so much that we forgot them, but we deviated a little bit. We extended the definition from what our core competencies were. And we ran into a few hiccups. And it wasn't until we really got back to that, grounded ourselves in our core principles, core investing principles, that we kind of got our mojo back. So
lesson number 6, investors come first.
What do you think the guiding principles were for someone like Bernie Madoff? I don't think it was, hey, the investors come first. That's, I would say, as a manager, a third point, the investors come first. And what I'm not sure, a lot of people put up gates in their hedge funds. So I think if you were a principles-based investor and you were sitting on enough cash to meet your redemptions, you would have figured out a way, if you really believe that your investors come first, to pay them back. But a lot of people put themselves first. And interestingly, or maybe not ironically, but maybe as you would expect, those people many of those people who did that and didn't put their investors first, but put their own business interests first, are out of business now because they pissed everybody off and they forgot.
Lesson number 7, based on teamwork, not dog eat dog.
Got their basic principles because they panicked, and this keeps you from panicking in difficult times. There's the kind of dog eat dog philosophy that, you know, you have your own book, you have your own book, you have your own book, and I want you to generate as much P&L and deliver that to the mothership. Culture, at third point, we have a different culture, which is one based on teamwork and cooperation, on you know, what's good for the whole, you know, what's good for the whole firm, and how are we going to succeed as a firm. So what does that do? It prevents, you know, hoarding of information. It prevents people from running, you know, backbiting against other people. It prevents people from, you know, doing a lot of bad behaviors. What does it create? It creates people that are supporting each other. Somebody maybe outside of your industry is doing something, you'll want to help them. You know, someone in marketing wants you to come in and meet with an investor, but you know, you're not getting paid for that. You're getting paid for your investment ideas. But if instead you're getting paid on the overall profitability of the firm, and you have a culture that...
Lesson number 8, being a great athlete helps.
And you know, I'm a little bit of a health nut, and you know, I think people at the office are. It gets that. That's great too, because I think if you are physically fit, you're more apt to make smarter. Your judgment is better. Your energy levels are better, and you know, we sponsor anybody who wants to compete in a triathlon. I paid for it, and I just sent it out, and I got a...
Lesson number 9. His nickname is Poison Pen. He rarely grants interview. He does not appear on television, yet he is famous as the Poison Pen, where he did the majority of his attacking on underperforming CEOs. Lesson number 10. When in trouble, get back to your core competency. His core competency is distressed debt.
Right. Wow, this guy Nouriel Roubini, who's been going out saying it's the end of the world, maybe he's not right. So I had this, you know, this light bulb went off. I said, wow, you know, I'm a little bit late to the party, but it's not, you know, this thing is just getting started. So, you know, first thing we did is we got out of all of our macro trades. So that was me sort of coming back and saying, regrouping to my core competencies and our core principles of what we are, and saying, hey, these things may or may not be right, but it's not really what we do best. It's not consistent and congruent with our investment philosophy. So that was kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We got rid of the disaster trades, and we got refocused on what it is that we do: distressed debt, spin-offs, risk arbitrage, et cetera. So we bought things like, you know, Chrysler Finance Company bank debt, which, you know, doubled in 2 weeks leading up to the bankruptcy of Chrysler. We bought insurance companies like Lincoln National and Hartford that were rescued by TARP. We bought Bank of America preferred stock. We bought, you know, some busted ARB deals. So the good news is that, look, this is an unfolding story, and as long as I'm doing this business, it will continue to unfold. But at least in this period of time, we've went from, you know, down 7% to up 7% in performance, which is, you know, a dramatic move in a 6-week period. You know, the investors are excited again.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your questions and comments below. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.